Good afternoon, everybody. 안녕하세요. Is that, do you understand? Great, thank you so much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here with you guys today. In person, it has been too long. And I want to give special thanks to Director Park, who invited me to be here, and also to the whole NextRise 2021 committee for all your help. My talk today will be about customer centricity and about the idea that we cannot hope to win customers' trust and loyalty if we do not understand them deeply as human beings, as people on a deeper psychological level. And why loyalty? Because loyalty drives sustainable business growth. And in our Zappos world, loyalty, customer loyalty and customer happiness is actually nirvana. Imagine the possibilities. Imagine the possibilities if your customers sent you emails like this. And this is a very important email that Zappos received almost 21 years ago. When they started selling shoes online, they were some of the pioneers. They were one of the first ones to start selling shoes online. And back then, this is the year 2000, when everybody was worried about the the millennial bug. One customer was not very happy with Zappos because she expected a pair of shoes to come for a special event, and they did not come on time. And that customer wrote to Zappos, was very upset. And at that time, the executives could have said, it's only one customer, so let's not worry about that. But instead, what they did was they took it very seriously. They sent her another pair of shoes very quickly for no charge. They sent her a coupon and a big apology. And what they got back from this customer was this letter with the subject line, wow. Imagine, this is 21 years ago. Now everybody's talking about wowing customers, wow this, wow that. But that was unheard of back then. Now imagine the possibilities if so let me see. All right, we have some malfunctions here with the. Okay, there we go. Imagine the possibilities if your customers talk to you in such terms. So this is a very simple word cloud of thousands and thousands of customer comments that are being constantly sent by our customers. And when you put them in a very simple word cloud program, what comes up is really what Zappos stands for, which is shoes, great, fast service, selection, and so on. And to me, that's very important because I like the definition of a brand, which is a brand is what others say about you when you're not in the room. A brand is not really what you say in your advertising campaigns, but it's about what people say about you. And this is really stands for the Zappos brand, right? Now, the good news is that you don't have to be Zappos to create such customer loyalty and have such business longevity and such business fame. Unfortunately, the one thing that stands in the way of some companies getting there is that they don't understand their customers as people. And when you don't understand your customers as people, it is easy to treat them like numbers. I don't know if you know the story of the statistician who had his head in a hot oven and feet in a block of ice, but on the average, they felt just fine. Right? That's a joke, of course. There's no average human experience. I can do a whole hour with stand-up comedy about how, when you try to average customer experience, you really get get really these absurd situations. But my point here is that on the one hand, now a lot of companies are really going after big data, statistics, analytics. On the one hand, that's a huge trend. But on the other hand, they want to create these remarkable customer experiences that make people talk about your company and that make people stick with your company for a very long time, so make loyal customers. But what I'm saying is, that's my point in this talk, is that these two trends are in contradiction to one another, right? And only companies who resolve this contradiction of how you use big data and analytics on the one hand and use deeper customer understanding on the other, only companies who resolve that conflict will be very successful going forward. Now, creating loyalty and driving business results is much easier when you stick to the principle of customer centricity and the principle of human centricity, that customers are people, they are not statistics and they are not numbers. That insight drives everything we do at Zappos, from the way we create our company culture, to the way we understand customers as individuals and as human beings, to the company structure, the corporate structure within which we operate, to the strategy that we adopt to put those insights into practice. The first step in creating a culture of customer centricity is to create a company where the hero is the customer. Right? It's not the executives, it's not the shareholders and so on, but it's the customer. So that, for Zappos, happened a long time ago. It was in 2006 when Tony Hsieh was the CEO at the time, and the whole company created the 10 core values of Zappos, and I'll touch upon this a bit later. But here you see that the 10 core values, and they are written on our badges actually. And I can speak for a couple hours on those core values, but I don't have the time now. The first one is extremely important, which is deliver wow through service, because Zappos early on decided to focus on customer service and to use customer service as a strategy to win. And then, for example, number 3, create fun and a little weirdness, is one of my favorite, which doesn't really mean that you have to be weird. What it says is you have to be yourself. You can be yourself at work. So if you're quiet, be quiet. If you want to have pink hair, have pink hair. I wish I could have pink hair, but I'm a little limited in that respect. But I can dye my beard pink if I want to. So be yourself. I think that's the message. And then number 10, last but absolutely not least, is humility, is be humble. So that's another great company culture that was and is exemplified by the executives. So here I'll show you a little video of life at Zappos. This was before the pandemic, when all of us were on campus. And you can get a little glimpse of the Zappos culture.
I think it's really important for Zappos to hire people who align with our culture, that our culture fits, because every single hire has the ability to change the culture for the positive or the negative. And if you make too many compromises in your hiring decisions and you end up with an imbalance in your culture, then the negative can kind of outweigh the good.
The people that you work with are actually the most important resources in the entire company. It's not the product, it's not technology. So getting to know your people both personally and professionally will lead to not only a better environment, but to better results for Zappos.
People often say, like, do you pay people to be like smiley all the time? Like, no, but we're hopefully creating an environment where employees are helpful and happy, and I think that's just a side effect of our culture.
When people say, well, the core values, as an example you have at Zappos, those could never work in our company. Well, they probably shouldn't work in your company. You need to come up with your own identity. Tony will often get the question at Q&As about work-life balance, and I think he has a really great answer talking about work-life integration. So the idea that if you love what you do and you love who you work with, there's kind of a blurring of the lines of when you're working and when you're not.
We really appreciate and love what is unique about our coworkers. So we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences, and at Zappos they don't want you to turn anything off. Like, you should just be who you are all the time. So I think the future of Zappos will continue to be rooted in this foundation of these 10 core values, that we will continue to be fiercely passionate about customer service.
Most people want to be communicated to in different ways. People have different strengths and weaknesses. So knowing that you are open and available to them, I think, is really key. I guess my hope is that we maintain the current culture that we have and that we can enhance that culture. So we need to find the right mix of folks, basically get the right people on the bus, and hopefully the bus will go the right way.
Just a few tips on how you can apply this to your company. First is identify and articulate what your company stands for. It's much easier to do that when the company is small. It's much harder when the company is large, but even within large companies, you can start by, introducing some changes to your team, to your local environment. Then, very importantly, involve all employees and team members. So it's not enough for the executives to go off on a nice retreat and come back with a set of principles or core values that then are printed on posters and put on walls. It's very important for all employees to believe in that and to be involved in that. So gather feedback from employees. Of course, you start with your own vision, but you need to get feedback from employees. That's called facilitative leadership. And then, most importantly, put those core values into practice. They're not just words. So what this means is that to put this in practice means to show through your commitment, through your investment of time and money, that you care about those principles. So let me give you a few examples of how this works at Zappos. When we were still in the office, now a lot of people work from home. Now some have gone back to the office. But when we were all in the office, there was no offices. It was all open space. Even the executives didn't have offices. The executives had desks. And nobody had titles, right? There was no VP of this, VP of that. Everybody was just by their first name. And when, for example, somebody came at Zappos, a business partner, let's say, dressed in a suit and a tie, at the front desk, they gave them a choice to either take off the tie or to wear it around your head or to have it cut in half, which again tells you about being playful but also not taking yourself too seriously. Another little thing that we do at Zappos, that's a little ritual that helps with the culture, is every day an email goes out, an automated email goes out to the whole company with the names and email addresses of everybody who has a birthday on that day and that has a work anniversary on that day. So what I do is, even if I don't know the person, I send them a happy birthday. And then that creates a very good feeling, right? It's not very high tech, right? It's one automated email that goes, but it creates relationships, builds relationships. Also, again, before the pandemic, there was a whole budget set aside for team building. So every team had $50 per person for the whole month to go out and have dinner and have drinks with your friends, right, with your colleagues. And everybody was encouraged to spend that money, go out and have fun together. So these are some examples of how you create a culture. It's not just you have a document and everybody memorizes it and that's the end of it. Next, I want to touch upon our ways of understanding our customers as people. And my background is in experimental social psychology, and so I'm head of customer research at Zappos. And what my team does is we really try to understand customers on a deeper psychological level. We also have a very big, very talented data science team and analytics team, and they look at the numbers. But again, my point is that people are not numbers. So you need to have those two insights together. So how we do that at Zappos? we use a variety of different research methods to understand our customers holistically as complete human beings. So, for example, a few years ago, we wanted to take a different direction as a company to be more customer-centric. And we had an existing transactional data segmentation, which means how much people spend, how often they spend it, and so on. So we knew what people were doing, but we did not know why people were doing it. And so what we did was a psychographic or a mindset segmentation. So we segmented our customer base by things like what they care about. Do they care about customer service? Do they care about an emotional connection to the company? What do they care about? Do they care about discounts, right? So we did that segmentation. We superimposed it on the shopping transactional data segmentation. Then to understand customers even better, we followed this up with several surveys, in-depth surveys. We asked a lot of questions. And then to really gain even deeper understanding, we followed it up with some phone interviews. So we called about 20 of our customers and we talked for about an hour with them, one-on-one. And we asked them a lot of questions about their lives, about their motivations, their desires, and so on. We also did a type of research study that's very immersive. It's one of my favorites. Sometimes they call it an ethnographic study or contextual study. But essentially what we did was we visited the homes of some of our customers. And not only talked to them about their shopping behavior, but we also saw their clothes, their closets. We saw their family, talked to it. So next I want to briefly share with you the story of the crocheted shorts and the running shoes. So we went to, as part of this research, we went to visit a family in the Los Angeles area, which was a great neighborhood, close to the ocean, great house. We had asked the participants to think about an item, a clothing item that they had bought before, so we can discuss that. So the wife was there, husband, and then 2 teenage daughters. They were all in the room. And so the wife opened the door and greeted us, and she was wearing these crocheted shorts. And we started talking about how she got them. So the story was that her teenage daughter asked mom to buy these shorts for her online because a friend of hers had it. So mom is starting to research this online, and as she's doing that, a thought occurs to her, which is, can I pull it off? Can I, mom, buy and wear these shorts that my teenage daughter wants to wear? And so she pulls it off, and she's very proud of herself. She styled the shorts for going out at night or maybe more casual occasions. She was very proud of herself. Now you see something about the motivations of buying clothes. It's not just to have clothes. Clothes say something about ourselves. And at that time, so we turned to her husband and say, what about you, sir? What about shopping for shoes and clothes? And he goes, well, I don't like shopping for shoes and clothes. I just care about basic, good quality shoes and clothes because I usually wear a uniform for work. So it turns out he was a policeman. And that's when we understood why he was looking at us so suspiciously all the time. So we could have stopped there and we could have gone with the usual stereotype that women like shopping for shoes and clothes and men don't like shopping. And we could have stopped there. But we noticed some running shoes in the house. And we asked him about that. And it turns out that he was a very passionate runner. So in addition to being a policeman, a dad, a husband, he was a passionate runner. So when he started talking about running shoes, he lit up. And oh yes, and I go into these specialty stores and they measure my pronation and my gait. So we understand now, we found by just talking to the person a little bit more in depth, we understood another aspect of that person. And so when you have this full understanding, not only of the person, but also of the whole family, you can see how you can have much better advertising campaigns. You can talk to these people better, right? And when you send a marketing message, it will be much more relevant to that group. So what can you do here? You can start with with a few business questions in mind. My advice is to start with the business objectives in mind and not with the research method. So don't start by saying I'm going to do a survey or I'm going to do a focus group. That's the method. Start with what you want to find out first. Then translate this into research questions and then match these questions to both qualitative and quantitative research methods. So next I'll tell you a bit of the Zappos story. And from the way I understand it, I've been with Zappos for 7 years. Zappos has been around for 21 years. So I joined in 2014, and I've learned about the history before I was there, but I'll pass on a few of those stories to you now. So this is basically a story of true innovation, how you innovate and how you win by really making some counterintuitive business decisions. So it all started, the year was 1998 in San Francisco. And at that time, Nick Swimmern, this guy, he kind of looks like me, but this is not me. I promise you that. I wish it was me. I wish I had come up with that idea. But so Nick Swimmern, who lived in San Francisco, was looking for a specific type of shoe, the Chuka Desert something or other. And he went from mall to mall to mall to look for it, and he couldn't find it. So he had an idea, why can't we have a place online that sells all kinds of shoes where I can go and find shoes? Now this is commonplace. Now you take out your phones, you can buy anything. This is 1998, right? And so he went to Tony Hsieh, who was an investor at the time, and told Tony the idea. And first Tony was not convinced. He said, "Oh, what's the internet? I'm not sure that that's going to work. Do people shop on the internet? What's happening?" And the way Nick convinced Tony was he brought him some numbers on shopping through the phone on catalog shopping on the phone at the time. It was a $9 billion business or $9 or $90 billion business. And he basically said it's the exact same idea just on the internet. And then Tony was convinced. And then what Tony told Nick was, he said, "I don't know anything about shoes, you don't know anything about shoes, so go find me somebody who knows something about shoes and we can start this business." So Nick went to Fred Mosler, who was a buyer, shoe buyer at Nordstrom at the time, and he talked to him about it, and after some convincing, Fred joined the company, and that's how Zappos was started. Initially, Nick Swimmern had named the site shoesite.com. Very direct, right? Very, very simple. But after some deliberation, the team decided to rename the website because they wanted to maybe later expand to clothing and other items. So being called shoes specifically was very limiting. So they said, what can we do to make it a bit catchy? And they used the Spanish term for shoes, which is zapatos. And so they say we're gonna call it Zappos, and we're gonna do 2 P's so that people don't call it Zappos. So that's how Zappos was named. So then. The next phase was very startup-y phase, and they didn't have a lot of money at the time. And one of the things that Tony Hsieh, as an investor, what he did was extremely smart, and that's another lesson in innovation, is so he was the investor, but instead of giving a big check, let's say for $10 million to the company and say, here's the check, do what you need to do, he would fund them gradually. So he would fund them $200,000 at a time for a period of time, but the company had to meet certain goals. So for example, the goal was to onboard as many vendors, as many brands, shoe brands as possible. So if they met this goal, then Tony would give them the next chunk of money. So this is extremely important because nowadays a lot of startups get funded. They get $10, $100 million, and they go on a shopping spree, and then the money is gone, right? And then it's hard to achieve business results. So to me, that's one of those lessons in innovation. And also to save money and to really be frugal, Tony Hsieh had bought this building in San Francisco called the Van Ness building. So the whole team went to live there in his loft, and then the lobby of the building was the first shoe warehouse, which is pretty remarkable. And they all lived together, they worked together, and so on. And back then also you can see that in 2000 the wow letter arrived from this customer, the letter that I showed you at the beginning. Then came the next phase of growth, here's another really great insight about why Zappos grew so much and was so successful. Again, based on relationships. Remember, the first wow letter was about relationships with your customers. But then also Zappos realized that to have all that inventory of shoes and clothes, they need to have good relationships with their vendors. So Zappos now decided we're going to be great partner to our vendors, right? And so to the point where our annual party at Zappos, it's not called the employee party, it's called the vendor party. And it's an epic party. We've been in Las Vegas for the past maybe 15 years, and I can tell you these parties are the talk of town. We kind of missed it for a year and a half during the pandemic, but I remember a time when we would have this themed party. It was like Mad Max or kind of end of the world kind of party. And at 1:30 in the morning, Tony Hsieh, the CEO, walks around and brings sandwiches to the employees. So this is the kind of that leader that he was. So vendor relationships, and also at that time, the customer service team was formed by only 8 people. And the company decided to invest in customer service. That's another one of those counterintuitive decisions. Investing in customer service where a lot of other companies, even nowadays, they treat customer service as a cost to be minimized, so they outsource it. And then what you end up with is a very poor customer experience. Then another interesting story is when Zappos now had the need for a warehouse, they went to Kentucky and partnered with a company called E-Logistics. And after a few weeks, so they partnered first with UPS, which is one of the biggest shipping companies, right? And then they partnered with this company called E-Logistics to really manage the logistics, the software, and everything. After a few weeks, they found out that they weren't too happy with how that was going, and in a typical Zappos fashion, they sent one of the first employees to live in Kentucky for months and months, and he observed the warehouse, and then he wrote the software. For this person is still at Zappos. Aki Ida is his name. So another story of how if you want to create great experience, sometimes you have to roll up your sleeves and kind of do a lot of things yourself. And then in 2004, Zappos moved to an even higher level of customer service, which is 24 hours, 7 days a week. So if you pick up the phone, there's no downtime. We're always open. And with that came the need to staff and to invest in great employees in customer service. And because in the San Francisco area, the Zappos couldn't find really easily good employees to work on that and to believe in that as a true career instead of just a temporary job, they picked up and moved to Las Vegas, to Henderson, Las Vegas. So moving from the Bay Area to Las Vegas. And that's another one of those counterintuitive moves, right? Everybody was going to the Bay Area, but Tony took the company to Las Vegas. And Las Vegas is a city which never sleeps, so you always have people there that are used to not sleeping, so you could find people to work in the customer service area and really be happy. Then one of the big milestones was Tony's book, which he published in 2010 called Delivering Happiness, and it was ranked the #1 bestseller in the New York Times. That year also, Zappos launched the mobile app. And this is, again, quite a few years ago, right, 11 years ago. Realized the importance of mobile. Then in 2014, that's when I joined the company. Tony had introduced this experiment in organizational design called self-organization. So at that time, if you were a manager or had a title, you stopped being a manager in a way because everybody was encouraged to organize around the work. And it was a very interesting experiment. It was kind of unusual, but I really liked it because what it pushed people to do was to really be natural leaders. So only if you were a natural leader you'd succeed, and people then became much more passionate about the work and about owning the work and so on. And another very interesting aspect of Zappos is when you join Zappos, you go through 4 weeks of very intense customer service training, again because Zappos is very focused on customer service. So it doesn't matter if you are a vice president in another company, you join Zappos, you would still go through 4 weeks of customer service training. You get on the phones and start helping customers the second day, third day. And then if you pass this period of time, then at the end is something that's very, very unique, which is called the offer. So imagine you join the company and you go through this training, and then the company offers you money to leave. So say, we're going to cover your expenses for 3 months or for 4 months, and you can leave. And they do that with a very important purpose, to make sure that whoever stays really stays because they love Zappos, not because they need money. Right? So that's a very, very cool thing. And then I just want to finish with, this is a saying that Tony Hsieh used to say, that Zappos is a customer service company that just happens to sell shoes. And I think that goes to the true nature of a company. And when you have a company, or you start a company, or you work for a company, you have to really try to understand what the true nature of the company is. And here, this is one of the walls at Zappos, again celebrating customer service. And at Zappos, the customer service team is very deliberately named the customer loyalty team, because what their purpose is to create loyalty, right? Not just to serve customers, but their purpose is to create loyalty. And so, for example, there's a lot of interesting statistics. We had a couple of calls that lasted for more than 10 hours. More than 10 hours, the customer service agent was on the phone with the person. Right? They're rare, but I think that speaks volume for really what the company stands for. So 18 years after the initial wow letter, I was looking at the voice of the customer comments. So we gather comments from a lot of our customers send us hundreds and hundreds of comments on a weekly basis. I was reading those, and in July 2018, I came across this comment, and I wanted to read it to you. Wanted to thank John in customer service for going the extra mile and making my day. I mentioned to him a few days ago that my mother had passed away. He and your company sent flowers and a very sweet note that arrived yesterday. I was so shocked and surprised to receive this thoughtful gift. It made me cry. Thank Zappos. I loved you all before because my entire family wears shoe sizes not found in stores. And now this. Wow. Thanks for showing that a large company can be awesome and compassionate. So you can see 18 years apart, you get wow comments from customers. That says something, right? So in conclusion, I want to say that if you understand and treat your customers as human beings instead of just numbers, your net promoter scores, loyalty scores would skyrocket, your profitability could soar, and your customers will be writing you love letters for years to come. Thank you.